I don't just mean what's here on the surface of this planet, but all of nature stretching out to the edge of the observable universe with, as you say, it's daunting in scale, 2 trillion galaxies, each one with hundreds of billions of stars like the Milky Way galaxy. It's incomprehensible. I think it's the only interesting question, really, when you really get down to it philosophically, which is, what does it mean to live a short, finite life in this probably infinite, eternal universe? That's a good question, because it is the reality of our situation. I think it's very important to realize that we are just collections of atoms, as old as the universe itself. The building blocks of those atoms, at least, have been around since the Big Bang. And they've come together quite almost miraculously. And they've come together quite almost miraculously into patterns that can think and patterns that can feel and bring meaning to the universe. And that's what a human being is. And I think that realization is not frightening. It should be frightening in one respect, which is that we have the responsibility for ourselves and for this place, this planet. And I mean, we can talk about why I think this, but I'll say what I think. I think it's at least a possibility, and perhaps a strong possibility, that there's nowhere else in our galaxy where atoms have come together in that way. How can you face the immensity of the universe? Well, for me, you face the immensity by thinking, well, I think actually, notwithstanding our physical insignificance, we might be remarkably valuable because we're rare.
There is life out there. Are we still special?
In part, maybe. You know, I mean, Arthur C. Clarke, one of my great heroes, said that there are only 2 possibilities here. One is that we are alone, and the other one is that we're not. And both are terrifying, which I think is true. So what would it tell us if we detected another civilization? It would tell us that, I suppose, thought in the universe, meaning in the universe, is not unique to us. It might not be as rare as we had thought, but it'll still be the case that this planet is unique. The ecosystem on this planet, human beings, the particular selection of animals and plants and bacterium cells that we find here will not have occurred anywhere else in the universe. So I suppose you can still make a strong argument that in the same way that you could say, well, why do we need to protect that particular beautiful Pacific island? Because there are many of them around. You know, we understand that places are rare and unique. So, but I take your point. I think that my argument that there's a particular sort of value, perhaps, that we can attach to our civilization, for me anyway, rests on the fact that I think that civilizations are probably extremely rare. One of the reasons that I really concentrate on the technology of these huge screens is that you can display the majesty and beauty of the universe. We live in a remarkable time when we have things like the Hubble Space Telescope, which can take almost incomprehensibly high-resolution images of galaxies and clusters of stars and so on. So we have revealed the universe in all its majesty and beauty. And so I almost don't need to say anything on that score. I can just show these images. And you hear sometimes, it's interesting, as you said, some of these shows have 10, 11, 12,000 people. And it's an interesting collective experience, actually, because I'm most happy when I hear complete silence in the arena. And you can sometimes, and it's down to the imagery a lot of the time, as well as the ideas, you really can sometimes hear a pin drop. And it's strange to be in a crowd of 12,000 people and have silence, and it's awe, right? It's people being in awe of the wider universe. But when I made the argument, as I see it, for the fact that civilizations can be rare and therefore our planet is valuable, and also have an image, one of the beautiful images we have, many images of Earth from space, then I think you do get a sense that many people haven't thought about our position in that way. I think perhaps many people don't really consider the fact that we are living on a ball of rock, orbiting around one star amongst 400 billion in one galaxy amongst 2 trillion in the observable universe. I think we're almost programmed, I think, as human beings, not to really think about that. We live in a kind of state of existential dread and wouldn't be able to do anything, I think, if we thought about that all the time.
I think that's so true. I mean, we don't even think about our own deaths, let alone, the enormity and infinity of what's around us.
It's a very serious and interesting point, actually, that we have, I think most biologists accept, evolved in some sense to ignore the facts of our finite existence, the fact of our finite lives. So we understand at a deep level, I think, most of us, that we're here for a short amount of time, 70, 80, 90 years if we're lucky, whatever it is. And I suppose most of us until the end of our lives, or if we're faced by death, then I think most of us really don't think about the reality of our position in the universe in that sense. There's an emotional issue in interstellar spaceflight that's never addressed. So in Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever it is, 2001 you don't go out of the solar system, but anytime you go out of the solar system, you travel fast, very fast around the universe. There is this effect that time passes far more slowly for the astronauts on the spacecraft than it does for the people back on Earth. And so it's really true. It's been known since 1905, actually, the turn of the 20th century, with Einstein's theory of special relativity, that if you travel fast and you come round and come back to the Earth, 100 years could have passed, 200 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. It is a feature. It is fundamentally the case with interstellar travel that you will never see the people that you left on Earth. They will, at the very best, be very old when you get back. And most likely, if you go very fast, they will be long gone. Right, so the study of black holes recently has taught us that we're now pretty sure that reality is not what it seems. So even space and time, those things we've been talking about in these emotional terms about getting old at different rates and so on, even those seem not to be fundamental properties of the universe. So it seems that the fundamental property of the universe is just information. So it means that this world we look out onto of substance, of this three-dimensional world with planets and stars and people and feelings and civilization, is all really emerging from something far more abstract. And you even hear people say that we're all holograms, right? So you and me are in some sense holograms and we're not what we think we are. That appears to be true as well. So this could be the moment when we find that definitively we are not alone in the universe, right? There could be Martians today. There'll be little microbes, right? There won't be big Martians like War of the Worlds or something like that. But still, I think that realization, if it goes to the question you asked earlier, actually, if we discovered there was a second Genesis.
You're now the Royal Society Professor for Public Engagement in Science, and I wondered how much the fact that the Apollo was flying around the moon at that point and how the moon landings were very much of that era of your childhood, how much of that seeped into you and created your interest in science, do you think?
A lot, I think. I mean, I don't remember it, but my dad, as probably everybody's mum and dad, I think at the time, had watched it, and he had the newspaper cuttings. And so I was aware from quite a young age that Apollo had been a remarkable thing. I grew up worshipping Apollo astronauts. And I had I've had the great sort of privilege of meeting a few of them now. And I still, for me, out of all the people that I'm lucky enough to meet, Apollo astronauts somehow are almost godlike.
Professor Brian Cox, thank you very much for joining me on Times Radio. Tickets for Brian's live tour are on sale now.